All right. Good evening out there, everybody. Y'all good today? We're wondering. Okay. Well, welcome in. I hope you've had a good week thus far. And lots going on, it seems, these days. But a beautiful day, and I'm thankful for it. A few things coming up. On Friday, our youth have an event. They're all meeting here about 7. The girls are going to hang out here. The guys are heading over to the Walker's home. And so if you've got youth that want to be a part of that, you can let me know if you got any questions tonight, or we can see Trey about that. But that's going on this week. On Friday. On Saturday is the King of Kings movie. That's kind of open for the whosoevers as well that might want to be a part of that. But children in our young group are free. Adults, we got to pay, but it's only $5. And she had a good turnout sign up already. So probably need to know that tonight if you are planning on going to see the King of Kings movie. Saturday morning starts at 10. I believe the plan is just to try to meet there for the most part. So, but see Jessica if you have any questions about that. Sunday will be a pretty full day. Our choir cantata and drama, so to speak, will be taking place Sunday morning. And then Sunday night's our Easter celebration. We'll have some hot dogs. Everything will be free. Have concert, Easter egg hunt. There'll be a little bit of a petting zoo going on. Lots of things happening on Sunday, and then the love offering that morning also for Timmy Root. So a few things there. The vote the other night passed easily. I can't remember the numbers how, but I know it passed well with the Constitution and all that. Give you a little heads up. So thank y'all for that, and I think there's fresh copies floating around too that you can pick up if you would like. All right, Judges chapter 14, if you have your Bible, and we'll pick back up in Judges 14. I remember reading the story a few years back about Coach Bobby Bowden, who was a legendary football coach at Florida State University. Jamie Murphy would be happy. I mentioned Florida State for anything in a positive way, so you can let him know. But when Coach Bowden, before then, when he was playing baseball in college, I read this story that he had never hit a home run. It was his senior year at Howard College. He was the only player on the team to have never hit a home run in baseball. So one day, he hit a line drive against Auburn. Now, Coach Bowden has not that long ago passed away, so this was a long time ago when you think about it. And anyway, as he approached third, so this would be the inside the park home run, the coach was waving him on. And I would imagine it was pretty intense, some of y'all baseball folks, pretty intense, waving him around. And as he made the turn, the third base coach said, "But hurry." So he's waving him, "But hurry," okay, trying to get him that home run. And so he touched home. The team was just ecstatic. They come out meeting him, just slapping hands, all that good stuff. But the first baseman yelled for the catcher to throw him the ball. And he threw him the ball, and the umpire said, "You're out." Be out in a case like that. What did he do? He didn't touch first base. He was so excited, he didn't even touch first base. Maybe that's why he got into football. I don't know, but maybe so. But I would imagine he would use that the rest of his life, and I'm sure he would because I've heard him speak on multiple occasions about his faith. He would say something like, "If you don't take care of first base, it doesn't matter what you do, right? You got to take care of first things first." We've probably all had some tasks or projects along the way that maybe we made a mistake in because we just didn't pause to think it through all the way. Like, much as he wanted the home run, he really could, and I've seen guys do this. They realize they missed the bag, and they scamper back to touch it. He could have done that, but he didn't, and just didn't think that through like it should. But I want us to think tonight as we continue our study on Samson about think first, in the sense of our words, our choices, our actions, all of those sort of things, to think first. And I believe we'll see this was a challenge for Samson. But we're in verse 10 of chapter 14 in Judges, and so we'll just kind of make our way through. Verses 10 and 11 tells us that life is filled with choices. A couple of important ones we see right off the bat here with Samson. So his father went down to the woman, and Samson gave a feast there, for young men used to do so. And it happened when they saw him that they brought 30 companions to be with him. Life is filled with choices. We talked last time about Samson's choice, his desire toward this particular young lady. And she was a Philistine, not in accordance with his line whatsoever, really opposite end as far as his people would be concerned, being some of God's chosen people. But nevertheless, he falls for this young lady, and the marriage is being set up. And so we pick up and talks about his father's going down to the woman. What probably has taken place is some months have passed by since that first time of, let's go and see her, and you get her for me, I want to marry her, all of that, and all of those things taking place. Some months probably have gone by to get to where we are in these few verses and what's taking place. And of course, he tasted the honey from the carcass of the lion, and so they're making their way back, and some time has passed. So he goes down to her, and Samson gave a feast there. Now, to be honest, this is not the kind of feast with sparkling apple cider and Ritz crackers, okay? That's not what it is. This is a big-time celebratory kind of drunken fest feast is the idea that's used. And so many would say, it may not be directly stated, but it's inferred that this is where he breaks the second part of the Nazirite vow, if he hadn't already, because he had been through the vineyard already along the way of taking the strong drink. A big-time celebratory feast, not a lot of great things probably happening in the process. And it says it happened when they saw him, they brought 30 companions to be with him. Sounds a little funny, but what it means, again, you want some people to celebrate with. He's away from home, and so most likely these are 30 friends comprised of the Philistines. Now, why would you say friends? Because they're arch enemies. They don't like each other. He's marrying this girl, but they don't, as a general rule, these two people groups just don't like each other. And so life is filled with choices, and for Samson, we see the choice of a spouse and the choice of friends, and he's not doing very good when it comes to that. And it's important for us to understand, choices are vitally, vitally important. I read the story about a frazzled mom. She had 3 really active boys, and one summer evening, she was playing cops and robbers out in the yard with her 3 boys. And one of them shot the mom and said, "Bang, you're dead." And so she hits the ground. Well, there's a neighbor that happens to be watching. Anybody got a neighbor like that kind of watches a lot? Man, I can tell you some stories about a neighbor years ago. I won't do it tonight. But the neighbor is watching what's going on and notices mom doesn't get up. And she says, "I'm going to run out there and see what's going on." So she goes out there. She's concerned. She's laid there for a long time. She leans over, and as she does, she hears, "Shh, don't give me away. It's the only chance I've had to rest all day." She's playing the possum role, I guess. Sometimes you got to choose to get a little break when you can get a break. Life is filled with choices, but we must think first. God gave us a mind to be able to think through things and make good choices, and Samson wrestles with that a lot from what we see in these few chapters. Second thing, starting in verse 12, is playing games can be very dangerous. It seems innocent, but playing games can be pretty dangerous. So Samson says to them, "Let me pose a riddle to you. If you can correctly solve and explain it to me within the 7 days of the feast, then I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing. But if you cannot explain it to me, then you shall give me 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing. And so they said to him, Pose your riddle, that we may hear it. So he said to them, Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. Now for 3 days they could not explain the riddle, but it came to pass on the seventh day that they said to Samson's wife, Entice your husband, that he may explain the riddle to us, or else we will burn you and your father's house with fire. Have you invited us in order to take what is ours? Is that not so? And then Samson's wife wept on him and said, You only hate me. You don't love me. You have posed a riddle to the sons of my people, but you have not explained it to me. And he said to her, Look, I've not explained it to my father or my mother. So should I explain it to you? Now she had wept on him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it happened on the seventh day. And he told her because she pressed him so much. And then she explained the riddle to the sons of her people. So the men of the city said to him on the seventh day before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said to them, pretty harsh, strong words, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. Playing games. They can be so dangerous. One of the reasons why is because some people play differently. Some people don't play according to the rules. Some people make up rules as they go. We need to be careful how we choose terms and wagers and tactics, however how you might want to describe that. We need to be careful with it. Now, obviously, it's important. We should laugh and we should enjoy life and we should have fun, really more so than anybody else as believers. Yesterday, I had a really great privilege. I went to an event in Greenville, and Sharon, I think you told me something about it. Ms. Pam had sent me something about it, maybe some others. It was a honors event for pastors from the Light FM, from 106.9. And yeah, you got the shirt. I see it. It was so neat. It was good. And they put it on, and we had Brandon Heath come and did like a mini concert. Mike Williams, a comedian, was there, and I've heard Mike Williams before. I couldn't wait to hear him again. He's just hilarious. And I've told y'all before, sometimes you just got to laugh. It's good to laugh. And so I was looking as forward to Mike Williams as anybody else because I just needed a little break and needed some laughter, and he gave it to me. And I'll probably use one of his stories one of these days that he told there. And then they just treated us nice, had a great meal. And it was just sweet. And so I appreciate those who may have heard, and I listened and was hearing about it as well. And so I signed up. I was amazed really how few in comparison showed up. Now, I don't believe anyone from our association otherwise was there. And some of them probably didn't know about it. So I thank those who were kind enough to let me know and make sure I was aware of the event. It's just a way they could say thank you to pastors. And it was really quite an honor to go and be there and be a part of it. But I love to be able to go and just laugh. And so hear me in that. It's important we have fun in life. But be careful sometimes the games we play as people. I think you know what I mean when I say that. Samson is a riddler. Anybody come to mind when you think of a riddler, maybe in a comic book or a TV show screen? You think of Batman? Anybody? Y'all okay? Y'all good out there? All right. Y'all remember the Batman? Okay. Maybe. But kind of funny stuff. And so the idea of this riddle is an enigma. It's a hard saying. It's a difficult question. And so he wants to pose this and just put it forth and see if they can tell him what it is, what it means, and declare it to them. And so we, as we read this story, are kind of privy to what's happened, as we talked about last week with the lion and the honey and all of that sort of stuff. And so when we read it, we think, well, out of the eater came something to eat, out of the strong came something sweet. If we think about it, based on the context, maybe we don't come up with the rhyme that they do, but we could probably come up with an answer for that. And so what's at stake to us might not seem like as much when he says 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothes. We go through that in 5 days, you know. I mean, we go through clothes left and right. We don't think. But in this day, if they had probably, I'm just guessing, I've read some stuff, that would be a little bit surprising. Many of us probably grew up in the times when you had school clothes and you had church clothes, or school shoes and church shoes. I had one pair of shoes I wore as long as my feet could stand the pain of whatever size that was to church. Tennis shoes wear out, you go get another one, but church shoes you just kind of endure because you wasn't in them but so long through the week, and that's what you wore. And I sometimes think about that now when I look and see a few pair of shoes laying by the bed. I think, boy, it's changed a lot through the years from what it used to be. And so for them, the thought of 30, which is just unheard of. You'd be wealthy if you have something like that. And then the linen garments as well to go along with it. So this was a huge wager, kind of a friendly bet in the sense. Seems harmless, but it can be really dangerous the way we play games. And so we need to be mindful of that. So he poses the riddle, doesn't seem like such a big deal. And going through, and then they have to come up with the answer. So we got a couple minutes. Y'all got nowhere else to be. I'm going to give you a few quick riddles, all right? Y'all ready? This means, y'all are dozing on me. What's going on tonight? I don't know. Maybe y'all enjoying that sun too much. These are pretty simple in a way. So here's a few real quick. What has to be broken before you can use it? Yes. Did you say egg? Bobby's studied up on eggs, aren't you, buddy? Because that's prime real estate right now. All right, I'm tall when I'm young and I'm short when I'm old. What am I? A candle. All right? What month of the year has 28 days? Yes, sir. Every last one of them. Bobby, you want to come read this list for me? You got it, don't you, buddy? I hear you. What's full of holes but still holds water? Sponge. Man. All right, there's a one-story house in which everything is yellow. Yellow walls, yellow doors, yellow furniture. What color are the stairs? Don't have any. It's a one-story house, all right? We would have missed that on the exam in school, probably. Okay, let's see. Y'all don't need too many more of these. Y'all know all the answers already. I shave every day, but my beard stays the same. What am I? A barber. Okay. Let's see. A man dies of old age on his 25th birthday. How is that possible? Born February 29th. There you go. Last one. I got a million more, but last one. You see a boat filled with people, yet there isn't a single person on board. How is that possible? They're all married. It's not a single person on board. Yeah, okay. Y'all pay attention. I love those things. I could read them all day. I felt like I did. But that's another story. I should have just called Bobby. He'd have had all the answers for me. You did good, man. I'd have failed that test a long time ago. So he goes on, he presents the riddle. For 3 days, he talks about they can't explain it. They don't know what's going on. And so they decide they need to go see Samson's wife. Now, by the term wife, everybody I read said, obviously this is a part of the process. The official marriage consummation comes at the end of the seventh day process. So this is in the midst of that to where we see it in the New Testament as well. It says wife, but it hasn't quite got to the full consummation yet. But yet she's got a little bit of pull in his life. And so these folks come, they explain, and they say, basically, if you don't, we're going to burn you and your father's house with fire. Y'all remember the point? Playing games can be dangerous, very dangerous, because not everybody plays the same way. Samson's wife on him said, Oh, somebody's heard this stuff along the way, right? Maybe you've even used it. Oh, you just hate me. You don't love me. You wouldn't do that kind of thing. Why don't you tell me this? You put this riddle, you ain't even told me. He said, I ain't told mom or dad yet. Why would I tell you? And it's kind of funny in a way. Why would I tell you? I hadn't told them. Remember, this isn't a long-standing marriage. They're just kind of saw her. I want her, marry her. Mom and dad set this up. They go back months later, and here it is. You know, this is still a new, fresh relationship. So I hadn't told mom or dad. Why would I tell you these things? And so she really gives him the treatment and cries because her life and her family's life are on the line. This is serious business, but he doesn't realize that to this point. But it's going to sound eerily familiar a chapter or two over when we read a little more what takes place with someone else. And so she weeps and weeps, and on the seventh, the last day, he tells her, and it says, because she pressed him so much. She oppressed and distressed him so much. Some would say, you read it, that she just nagged him to death with it. But again, if your life and the life of your family is on the line, we could understand that she would. She would be relentless in that. And so as he tells her, immediately she tells to her people. And so the men just can't wait to go and see him and say, oh, we have the answer, what is sweeter than honey and what is stronger than a lion. And he realizes the only way they came up with that is through his wife. And so if you had not plowed with my heifer, that sounds tough and strong. The word plowed has the idea to devise or cut in. If you had not plotted and twisted things with my heifer, which of course means a cow, pretty strong word, but there's also other meaning that some look at with that as far as how she's treated in that regard. Says you would not have solved my riddle. And he's correct. But there's one more thing. Those last couple of verses, what we choose determines how we live. And sometimes the games we play determine how we live. But it says, in the midst of that, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily. He went down to Ashkelon and killed 30 of their men, took their apparel, gave the changes of clothing to those who had explained the riddle. And so his anger was aroused, and he went back up to his father's house. And Samson's wife was given to his companion, i.e. friend, who had been his best man. Interesting enough. So because of some choices he's made prior, because of the games he chose to play, it ends up seeming like a pretty harmless bit. I'm going to give you these clothes. You give me those clothes, all these garments. Where are you going to get them from? He goes and actually kills 30 Philistines miles away in Ashkelon, takes the clothes back for them to have and the garments they agreed upon. His anger is aroused. We see that at various times in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Same words are used in the sense of anger is a very vivid word. It deals with a face and the nostrils. Some of us are like that. You ever get angry and people can tell by looking at your face, right? Or your nostrils start to flare out. And so it's a very vivid word. His anger is aroused. It's kindled. It's hot. He's just burning mad as what's happened. And so he makes his way back home. And it seems, depending on the sources you use, it says his wife was given to his companion who had been his best man. Well, the only ones really that could do that would be her parents, could give her to someone else. Well, they've gone to all of this struggle, and there's this massive feast, and it gets to the end. How shameful and embarrassing, in this case, if she doesn't get married. And so obviously it didn't have a whole lot to do with love. It's like, well, there he is. Let's just get him over. Maybe he'll say yes. Let's do that sort of thing. And so there's a marriage that happens and takes place. And what we choose really does determine how we live. We can make good choices, and the Lord can bless them. We can make some difficult choices, some hard ones, and things can be tough. Doesn't mean It's not the opposite sometimes, but it does affect things quite a bit. In 1860, a lithographer named Milton Bradley decided to invent a board game where people, by playing it, would learn life lessons. They would learn about the risks and rewards in life, decisions and consequences. It was originally called the Checkered Game of Life. Y'all ever heard of it called that way? Y'all know what it's called now, but the Checkered Game of Life is what it was called way back then. It was a checkerboard game and started at birth, moving along through the various stages of life. With each step, there was an opportunity, and with each opportunity, a cost associated with it or a potential reward. It was designed to teach people about life. 100 years later, in 1960, the Milton Bradley Company issued a redesigned game with little tiny people and cars and a spinner, and that's the game most of us remember playing. Anybody ever played the game of life? Probably have. Many of us probably still have it in our homes. I do. I got kids that love to play some games like that. But in real life, just like we learn a little bit in board games, there's folks that like to bend the rules a little bit. They don't always do things the exact right way, or we like to have a little fun in cheating, but in real life, it's a little different if you don't play by the rules. It's different when we invent them as we go. You ever been around a group of children, they making up a game, they're getting ready, and then one of the kids will come back later and say, that wasn't in the rules. Well, who made the rules? Well, we're making them as we go. Well, who's to say they did something right or did something wrong? You're just making them up as you go in these games, which is creative, and that, we want to encourage that, but at the same time, it's important to have the rules together. And we certainly realize and understand life is far more than a game. Real people with real lives and real consequences. And so it's really important to think first. Before we speak, before we choose, before we act. To think. Some of us have probably heard that through the years. We've probably given that advice through the years to others. We've probably, if we're really honest in church on a Wednesday night, we've probably even told ourselves, think through this before you speak, before you choose, before you act, or whatever it is, to think. And I think it is safe to say, if Samson had done so, and done so thoroughly, he would have made some different choices than what he did, which affected numerous people in so many ways. But let's enjoy, and let's have fun, let's laugh, let's smile, let's do all those things, but be careful. Some games people play, as we like to say now, they're using real bullets, and it can be dangerous. So let's have fun in the right way and do the right things, and try to smile and enjoy it along the way, okay? Let's pray. Father, tonight we do thank you for, again, the lessons we continue to learn through Samson and his life. And Lord, I think we can all relate to being there and making poor decisions, not choosing as right and well as we should, to not thinking first and just acting or speaking. And I would imagine most of us know what it is to get in trouble when we do those things. And Lord, I pray that you would help us to do better, to think more, to use your wisdom that you provide for us, as your Spirit would move in our lives, that we would heed that voice, that we would pay attention, and Lord, that we would honor you. And so, Lord, help as we continue to navigate through Samson's life and learn more and more through the good and the bad. And Lord, I pray you'd help make us more like you. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.